everybody, and welcome. It's Janet Beckers here, and I'm really excited today because we are talking graphics and conversion. And for me, as an artist, I just love having any conversations where we can talk about colors and things that look really, really beautiful to look at. So we have got the master here at doing all of that beautiful design, but in a way that makes you money. So Greg Merilees, it's great to welcome you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Janet. It's great to be here. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and Greg and I have known each other for quite a few years, and we just sort of move in similar circles and catch up every now and then. And I've got to see quite a lot of my colleagues use Greg all the time for creating really top quality websites, top quality sales letters, everything. And they just look fantastic, like really, really pro.
Thank you.
But the thing is, I also know, and this is what Greg's going to be covering today, that it's not just about making something look pretty.
No.
It's about making something convert really, really well. So that's going to be our topic today. How do you make your website, making sure you're using the design, what is on there, how do you make it so it converts really, really well, with a real focus here on the design of the website.
Totally.
So before we get started, Greg, just so people can get to know you, a little bit about like who do you serve and how do you do it and why?
Why? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, well, most of our clients are businesses that sort of use online marketing to grow their business. They could be an offline business or an online business, but they're using that online piece, for the marketing side of things. So, normally it could be a business that it could be from anything from a gym business, using online marketing to attract leads and get more people into their gym, to people that have online courses and SaaS businesses and coaches and pretty much any industry at all. But we do use a common set of principles to help those people, which we can talk about later. So really this, for the listener or viewer, this training is really, for you if you're using online marketing, right? So, but the thing is, you are going to need an offer that, that people want to pay you for, essentially. Because if you're selling a piece of crap, it won't matter, how good our website design is, it's never going to work, right?
Yeah.
But the way I got into this, I've had my design business, since the year 2000, so forever, right? But back then we primarily designed t-shirts. And yeah, exactly. And we designed t-shirts for local wholesalers that sold to the retailers, right? And so then around probably 7 years ago, the retailers went vertical and cut out the wholesalers. So all of our clients were dropping like flies, right?
Oh.
So it was really, really difficult. So I kind of had to reinvent myself, which was like a big struggle at the time. I had a young family and, we had a mortgage and all that sort of stuff. And my wife was also in the rag trade, the clothing industry, and she lost her job as well. So yeah, it was just a matter of, we had to pivot big time, So I looked online and I found podcasts and things like that. And, James Franco, obviously, and Ezra Firestone, they had a podcast, Think Act Get, and they mentioned on their podcast that their logo sucked. So I thought, oh, wow, I love their podcast. I'm going to send them a new logo design just to say thanks, right? Anyway, they ended up loving the design, and then I just built the relationship with them and built that trust, and then ended up hiring James Franco as my coach. And, then he said, well, if that works so well for us, why not do it to other podcasters? So we sent them out to people like John Lee Dumas and Pat Flynn and Perry Marshall and a whole bunch of, probably about 20 podcasters and influencers. And did the same thing and built trust with them. And that's kind of how we spread into this online community. And it just evolved into marketing, graphics and website design. And now that's our main thing.
You know what I love about your story there, and these are real lessons for people who are listening. Like,
yes.
Number one is you had a business that was working really well, but something changed in the market and the whole thing disappeared.
Totally.
Like that's scary stuff, but it's also something that everybody needs to be aware of. Like, have you got the facility within what you do to pivot like you did?
Yeah.
That's a huge one. And the other one is, how arsey are you? Like, I love this technique. Like, I get emails every single week, numerous ones every week, saying I'm shit hot at what I do. trust me on this, and can we have a meeting where I can basically tell you how great I am, and then you can employ me. And I'm thinking, no.
Yeah,
Whereas what you did is you went there with proof that you are really good at what you did, because you gave them a gift. You actually put that effort in, which for somebody like me who would use Canva and stuffs around, that's a lot of work. For somebody like you, that this is your specialty, that's actually probably for you, in terms of the amount of time that it will take you, that is a pretty good return on the investment of your time.
It was indeed, yeah. And I was really, another lesson, I guess, for the viewer is, like, play to your strengths. Like, we didn't have many strengths at that time, but we could design really, really good looking T-shirts that sold, right? We used to design T-shirts for Disney and Warner Brothers and all that sort of stuff. So we had to go through a lot of approval, and it had to sell, right, in store. So we had a real commercial kind of eye. And so what we did with these podcasters, we didn't just slap their logo on a shirt. We went into their website, we read their testimonials, we looked at their slogans and things like that, their taglines. And so then we thought, well, we want to put that stuff on a T-shirt and just have a little logo on there. Like, for instance, for lead pages, we saw in their testimonials, somebody said, that's their secret weapon, right? So we did this big secret weapon in a really cool font, and it's a little lead pages logo in the corner. And Clay Collins absolutely loved it, and he bought photos of him wearing the T-shirt. And so the point is, that was our strength, that we had something unique. That's all we had, but that's what we used to, as a lead magnet to, find our new clients.
That is brilliant. I just love that. And I know that there are a lot of people, when you suggest to them, hey, go and do something that actually proves that you know what you're doing, a lot of people will go, well, no, people should pay me to do all of this stuff. Like, you've been very clever in recognizing, this is, the cost of a lead, and this is a really unique way to do it. So big challenge out there to everybody that is listening. Is there something that you can be doing in your business that's going to be out of the ordinary, that really makes you stand out from every other person that would be trying to get those clients? So
exactly. And try and target influencers if that's your target market. But don't just give them a free ebook that anyone can download. It needs to be unique to them, add value to their life.
I love it. That is really, really good. Okay,
cool.
Now I understand why somebody who wanted me to be a joint venture partner sent me champagne glasses. What was important to me?
That's awesome.
They're really nice ones too.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. That's why I love always just asking, like, why you do what you do, and why that's a great story. So
excellent.
Yeah. So everybody, you've already got really good value today. Like, you can take just one of those points and go and do it now. So now we're going to move over on to website design.
Sure.
Because that's one of the big things that I always find when people come to me, and they will say, look, Janet, I've got to get a website. I can hear you can get one for like about $500. I actually had this conversation 2 days ago with my sister. And it was sort of like slap, 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 slap. Because, it was like, I can get it for a few $100. I just got to get one up and going. It's going to be our main sales vehicle for this huge thing that, the business that she works with is going to be doing.
Right.
But I hear I can get it cheap. I don't want to pay more than I need to. So a lot of people, that's their big thing. They're either thinking, how do I get it cheap, or how do I do it myself? And, or they go the other extreme. They go, I've got a quote for $50,000 to get my thing. Is that a good number? So, so let's have a look what you're finding, the kind of people that need a website. So we'll have a look at what's sort of websites that people, what do they need? And also like the big mistakes that people make.
Yeah, sure. So, well, for a start, like with websites in general, yes, there's a huge range in price. You can get a website for $50, and then you can use, services like Lead Pages and ClickFunnels and 10X Pro and do all this stuff yourself, which is totally great, right? Or you can buy, a website theme on ThemeForest and all that sort of stuff. Now, if you are starting out and you don't have an offer that's been tested and people want to pay you for, then I recommend that's where you should start, on one of those platforms, right? But then when you are starting to make money, then I think you should be investing in your brand. Because if you just think about authorities in any niche, right? They all invest in their website design, because imagine from their point of view, if they weren't seen as a leader, if they had a template or something, people aren't going to see them as a leader. So therefore, as you grow your authority, reinvest in some of those profits back into your online image, and you'll just keep slowly amping it up to the next level, right? So, but when you're starting out, that's the best place to start. Just test your offer with a really cheap, I would say probably ClickFunnels or 10X Pro or something where you're going to get it up easily and quickly, and then send paid traffic to it, do content marketing, do whatever's required to get people to that website, and just test your offer. And then it's probably going to change over time. That's another reason you don't want to invest in a website straight away, because you want to figure out where you fit in the marketplace. So once you've sorted that out and you're starting to make money, then you'll be ready for a website.
That is really, really good advice. And I love that somebody who specializes in good websites is saying to you, no, don't come to me yet. Don't come to me.
Well, I mean, we want to, attract the right clients as well. And for us, the right client is somebody that is already an established business that wants to amp it up,
Yeah. And, that is excellent. And it's perfect advice. And it's the thing that I get that sort of, those questions all the time as well. All right, I'm ready to start a business. I need a website. Well, hang on. Let's just see if there's a market. Do people relate? Because you will have to go and recreate it again. So, and I really like doing something like you were talking about ClickFunnels. I use 10X Pro.
Yeah, awesome.
The thing that I like about those is you can test it on that particular platform, and then it can grow with you. So it's not as if you have to go and, do everything from scratch again. So
totally,
that's where it can be really good.
Absolutely.
So that's great advice. So for people who are thinking, if you don't actually have something that that it's going to sell, and I've proven that it sells, don't even bother. So really, really good advice. And we'll put some links in the show notes. We'll put some links to all these different software platforms that we've talked about, as well as, of course, over to Greg. So, so now let's look at the design. Now, you've talked about the design is one thing about like really looking the professional that you are. And, that was one thing I found when I decided to go from Wonderful Web Women to Romance Your Tribe. I thought, you know what? I really want to step up my game. Like I really want everything that I'm doing to be totally professional. And so that required, we reworked all of the graphics. Every single thing that I did was with that idea of being able to, can I be running this as a big company and it's still congruent? So it was really essential to a part of our rebranding. Now, when it comes to people looking at we've got that, but we're also got, conversions. We want to make sure that if we're going to invest this money into looking good, it's not just like, hey, look, I've got a fancy car. It's how does this make me money? So this is your specialty. So let's have a look at this. So will we look at maybe what people do wrong or what people do right? I'm just going to over to you now, Greg.
Yeah, sure.
Baby.
Excuse me. Yeah. Well, look, we do like to think of a website when we're designing a website for a client. We have to think of it in the eyes of their prospects, their visitors, right? Now, we don't. When I say that, we also want to appeal to our client, but it's more important to appeal to our client's client. So when that person is on our client's website, they only care about what's in it for them, right? So therefore, we need to please them. So we like to say, a 5-second clarity test, right? When somebody's on your site, they want to quickly work out, what it is that you offer, why you're unique and different to your competitors, how will your visitors benefit from your offer, and then do you have a clear pathway to try and help me with my problems? Can you solve my problems? So just in that alone, that approach is a lot different to some mistakes that I see people do, where they just make the website copywriting all about themselves, like we do this, we do that. Well, people don't give a shit. They just want to know, how do you help them, right? Do you have a problem, solution to my problem? And then it comes down to the visual hierarchy, right? So For instance, you want to attract people with the copywriting. The images need to give the copywriting wings, essentially, enhance that message. The color palette needs to appeal to the target market. Same with the images. And then you need to, show those benefits and then give them a clear call to action for them to take that next step, right? But
Right.
also what you need to do on that, when somebody lands on the page, because they don't know you at all at this point, potentially, right? You may have done some offline marketing beforehand. You might have a podcast, you might have, video, whatever the case is, you might have run an event. But the point is, when people come to your website, usually you have to cater to cold, warm, and hot visitors, right? And most people are cold. So therefore, you want to lead with value. So have that, lead magnet, something like a PDF download or a free this or a free that, free trial, depends on your business model, in return for an email address, right? And then you want to have something for warm visitors. And that might be where they know a little bit about you, but they're ready to invest a bit more time. So it might be a free webinar or something like that. So you give the opportunity to build even more trust, right? And then for hot visitors, you don't want to take people all the way through that funnel if they're hot to trot, right? So you want to give them opportunity to do business with you instantly. And if you're an e-commerce, you obviously have, products for them to buy. If you're a service business, it might be a free consultation or something like that. It might be a link to your course. It just depends what your business model is. But yeah, we like to approach it that way, where it's cold, warm, and hot. Or we like to segment the list into different offers that you have that suit that different demographic, like you do on your site,
Yeah, where mine gets divided. Okay, which of these 5 are you? This is what I recommend for you. You know what? I love what you've said there about that cold, warm, and hot.
Yep.
And interestingly, this just happened yesterday. I had an invitation from somebody who wanted to do a joint venture with me.
Yep.
And, they've got a big project happening, and I would be one of the people who are involved in that. And so, I normally only take joint ventures when I've been introduced to people. And so, if I'm doing one that's out of the blue, like, I really, really, really research that person.
Yeah.
It's going to affect my brand. So I went onto her website and I was having a look, and I thought, I can see she knows her stuff. Like, she's the real deal. But it was really interesting when you were talking about the cold, warm, or hot. So I was cold to start with. I could find something there to get for free. The warm, I couldn't really find anything else to get to know more. The hot, I could not on earth work out what she was selling. And there was no way for me to see pricing. There were some overall things, but they were just brief directions and just went. And I just thought, wow. And so for me, I thought, maybe she's not the real deal. And so it really made me second guess about this opportunity. Was it going to work? And it was because there was nothing there for the hot.
Gotcha.
But that is a really good point. So it wasn't even just as a customer. It was as somebody else who can be potentially helping them to grow their business.
Totally, yeah. And just on that, you touched on price points, right? Like, a lot of people hide, they don't put their prices on their website at all, right? Mm-hmm. And I say, do it, because that's what people want to know, right? So on each of our sales pages for our, branding or landing page or websites, in the FAQs, we have a price points, but we're also providing a lot of information in those sales pages as well, so that they can see the value and why it is that certain price, So, but yeah, it's important because, people want to know those things. So if you hide behind it, boom, they're gone and they go to your competitors.
That is a really good one, because that's often a debate in our industry, isn't it? Especially for higher price programs.
Yeah.
Should you let people know the price? And I've seen both work, but I just figure mine's going to go there. And it means when I do get people onto a call, I know it's really fast. It's just a matter of working out, do you want the payment plan or the full payment? Because they know everything beforehand. There's a lot of people that won't get on the call, but I
think you're wasting time. Yeah, because what we do, if somebody wants a quote from us, great. We ask them a few basic questions, then we send them a ballpark quote. And then if they accept that, then we send them the next steps and we jump on a call and all that. But you don't want to jump on an hour-long call with somebody that's, not a good fit from the start, just because you forgot to, or, didn't want to disclose your price, and then they find out later. It's too late. You've just wasted an hour,
Yeah. So there's a few things that you've said that I really want to reinforce for people listening. Number one is that really short, just few seconds test. Can people who go on that website find out, what you can help them to do, how you help them do it, and what makes you different. Like, do they know that this is the right place for them?
Mm-hmm.
And then I love that you've said about having something for cold, warm, and hot. And I love that you put signing up for a webinar as a warm one rather than a cold. That's a really good insight for people to know.
Totally.
You're not finding that you're not getting the registrations and people turning up. You may be going to cold. That's a really good point.
Exactly. Because you'll find as well, if you do have a webinar funnel, you usually get a better result if you send traffic to a lead magnet page to opt in for a quick download, and then on the thank you page offer the webinar, and that converts better than just sending people direct to a webinar, because they don't trust you enough to invest that time.
Yeah. That's brilliant advice. Now, one thing that I do want to pick up on that you said before, Greg, when you were talking about the things that were important.
Yeah.
You talked about the graphics actually reinforcing the copy.
Yeah, totally.
So the graphics actually are working with the copy, and the graphics help to increase that conversion or the impact. Could you just go into a tiny bit more detail?
Yeah.
So we can imagine what that looks like?
Absolutely. Well, for a start, not many graphic designers say that copy is more important than design, but it is, right? Like you could have a beautiful website design, and I see this all the time, but the copy is terrible and they don't convert. On the other hand, if you had really, really good copy in a sales page and a terrible design, it can still convert really well. Yeah. But if you take that really high converting sales copy and you give it design that enhances that copy from the point of view of, let's say, a color palette, right? Your target market might be women, 40 to 60 or something like that. So you don't want it to be looking too junior, too male. It needs to appeal to that target market. And that comes down to the colors, the images, the fonts, the visual hierarchy, and all that sort of stuff needs to appeal to that target market. So if you get that wrong, people land on the page, no matter how good the copy is, they'll go, oh, there's a mismatch. Is this really for me? You know what I mean? So it's pretty important that they marry in together, and then that's how you get the best result.
That's fantastic. And I love how you've talked about the colors working there as well, because when you were talking about it, I was thinking, oh, maybe there's like little quote images that have got the copy, or maybe it's to doing, because I'll quite often get a copywriter that will say, I'll find an image that relates to this, and then they'll send me through an example, and I'll go, I'm not using that.
Is it stock?
Yeah, because it's a stock image, and I think that's actually going to ruin the beautiful copy that you've written. So that's good points, that the color and those sorts of things.
And let's talk about stock images. Like, there is a place for for stock images, right? And we do use stock images as well, but what we do with stock images is we will customize them and make them unique to the brand that we're working with, right? So we definitely don't use cheesy stock images like people in suits shaking hands, people going, yay, thumbs up, and all that sort of stuff. So we choose stock images wisely, and we make sure, another test you can do as well, for the listener or viewer, if you want to use a stock image, go to Google Images and grab that image and slide it into the question, the search box, right? And you'll see every other website that uses that same image. And if it's your competitors, don't use that image, right?
Right. Good tip.
But you do want to make sure, if you do use stock images, that it is at least recolored, or there's something about it that is tying into your brand, so it doesn't look like everything else out there.
That is a really good tip, even for people who are just starting out. That you can be using something like Canva or something, for when you're really starting out.
Great tool.
And then just put those stock images, but putting some of your own overlays. I've got, sometimes I'll see those ones that look great, where they look like they've got a splash of paint, or, like a paintbrush going across. And I think it looks just classy. Like, makes a huge difference. That is a really, really good tip.
And just on images as well, like, invest in professional photography once you've got the budget for it, right? Because that is going to have, increase your perceived value, right? As opposed to just using a crappy little, picture on your phone, or really invest in quality photo. And then people come to your site, they're going, oh, wow, she looks professional, or he looks professional, And depending on your business as well, like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there on video and, you know, things like that. I mean, some businesses, you know, you don't want to look like a one-man band type of thing, but in most instances, it pays to put yourself on video. If you're like a big SaaS business or things like that, you'd probably use animation. You wouldn't use the CEO, but yeah, put yourself out there because people can see your personality, you know, your body language and all that sort of stuff. Don't hide behind the website. Like, put yourself out there and tell your story as well, and you get a better result.
I just love that you know, that you obviously have such a focus on high conversion that it's very unusual to get somebody who approaches websites from the design perspective to talk about using video and because it's not something that you have control over. It's it's nuts. Yeah. So that is brilliant. Thank you.
Totally.
I'm always trying to encourage everybody, just get on video, because, you know, it just says, you know, so many things through body language. People know if they can trust you or not.
It does, yeah. But be really succinct and have a plan. And you know, like for instance, for a video, what we recommend is the spin selling formula. You know, it's a book by Neil Rackham called Spin Selling, but it's really an acronym, which is S is the situation. So you talk about the situation of your prospects. Excuse me. P is the problem. So you really dive into the problem, like the cause of the problem that your prospects have. I is the implication. So tell them what their life would look like if they don't address the cause of the problem. Right. And then N is the need or the payoff, which is really your solution, right? So, you know, and you don't want to just ask for a sale. What you want to do is lead with value, and you might ask them to download the ebook or schedule a call with me or something like that, right? Something for free. But give them a call to action at the end. But you put that spin selling framework into a 2 to 3 minute video. It's even more powerful if you can put in some testimonials or tell your story, your why you started the business, especially when you get to the need section. And yeah, that's a really powerful framework for a video.
There you go. I wasn't expecting to be able to get a really good video script on when we're talking about website design. So that's a really good value add. And focusing on design with video, are there any tips that you've got that's going to make it that when you are on video that you're going to be having that same professional?
Just have it congruent, like, you know, with your brand. So if you've got some blue in your overall brand, have a little bit of a blue, you know, I don't know what it's called, the bottom third, but you might have your name in there, a little bit of animation, make it look professional. Have an intro video, intro logo or an outro logo animation, things like that. But yeah, it just needs to, you know, portray professionalism basically.
Excellent. And those things are actually quite simple to do now. There's we'll put some links to, there's a couple of websites that you can be using to be able to just take your ordinary videos that you've got and get them all professionally done, like Splashio from another mutual friend, Gideon.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, I've signed up for that. It's great service.
Yeah, it's good. We've tested the whole thing through our system as well. So, you know, a lot of our videos have been done with him.
Nice.
We'll put a link down to there as well so that you can go and check that one out as well.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Anything else that you really want to make sure that we get across, Greg?
Totally, yeah. So when it comes to the website, yes, it's about copy, good copywriting, good design, but it's also about the strategy, right? So we touched on before that you want to lead with value, but then, one thing that you want to do is think about like, what's going to happen when somebody does download that ebook or whatever. Do you just want to send them a little message, a little bit of text saying, hey, thanks for downloading the ebook, check your inbox and whatever? No, what you want to do instead is, because they've just given you a yes, right? So on the thank you page, what we like to do is have a video, face to camera video, thanking them for downloading or doing whatever they've done, right? And then, you know, educate them a little bit on your services or your products or whatever the case is, and then invite them to the next step in your funnel. And it might be to watch that webinar or whatever, you know, or to join our Facebook group or, you know, schedule a call, whatever the case is. Yeah, it just depends on your business model. But that thank you page is super important to invite them into the next step of your funnel.
I love it. And I love how you said they've just said yes. So give them the opportunity to say yes again.
Totally. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Good.
Yeah. So that's the strategy piece
that people can be doing today. Like, you can just make a decision. If you don't do anything from today except one thing, that might be it. Go and make your thank you page so that it's really going to give them an opportunity to say yes again.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great tip. And then I guess another thing you want to do with your website is use like psychological drivers baked into the design and the copy, right? So, it's little things like authority, for instance. So, like we said before, invest in good photography, that sort of thing. But if you're a tradesperson or something else, it might be you in your unit, like your trade uniform, you with a fleet of vehicles, if you're a doctor in your doctor's uniform, anything that's going to show your authority, right? So that's just one thing you can do there. But then there's other things you can do with authority as well. If you're a speaker, you might be, showing yourself on stage, things like that. But even just having a professional design can lift your perceived authority. So investing in raising your authority is important. And then social proof. You can't have enough social proof. We're talking testimonials, whether they're written or video. Case studies are huge. For instance, let's say you've and some businesses you can't have testimonials like doctors and dentists, things like that. But you can still use case studies. And a case study is really just showing people what your prospect's situation was like before they came to you, and then show them the pathway that you gave them on how you helped them, and then show the result. And that, even if you're a dentist, for instance, you can use, you don't have to use a person. You can just use a person's suburb or whatever and say, this is how we help that particular person. But also you might have before and after pictures, really works well in the health industry. We do the same on our website, showing the before and after. We have this little animated slider thing that you can move, to see the before and after. But social proof is just, you can't put enough on your website, in my opinion. And there's reviews, plugins like Yotpo for e-commerce sites. There's other ones as well, but that's probably the best. There's a little plugin called Proof where it's a little pop-up at the bottom of your site that shows who's recently purchased and things like that. Yeah. So all these little psychological drivers for social proof can really enhance, your results. And then there's like consistency. So obviously we talked about congruency. Everything needs to look and feel the same, but consistent voice. If you're, like if you're doing a blog post, it might be on a topic that's current at the moment. Just give your opinion on that topic. And then, people will resonate with your opinion. It'll also repel some people as well, but that's a good thing if they're not a good fit, right?
Yeah.
So
that's why I always refer to that as, you got to get the splinters out of your butt. So
I love it.
If you sit on the fence, you're going to get splinters in your butt. So you've got to decide like which side are you jumping off on. And make sure you stay there.
I love that. Yeah, cool. And then, like reciprocity is that whole leading with value, but you also, put content on your site that's helpful for your prospect. You'll also do really well with SEO if it, gets shared and commented on and all that sort of stuff. I notice you transcribe your podcast, which is also really good for SEO, and that takes effort and it's an investment, but that's you leading with value, and it works, because it's that reciprocity thing where the more value you put out there for free, it just entices people to want to give back. It's just a natural human psychological driver, right? And then finally, scarcity and urgency. Depending on your offer, you don't want to use fake scarcity, but if you can put a little bit of scarcity or urgency into your offer, it will boost your results.
And you know what, it's a really interesting one, the scarcity and the urgency, because you see a lot of people who fake it and it just damages all that hard work that they've just done. But at the same time, to be able to come up with those ones. And that the nice thing that you've got there, because a lot of the ones that you were talking about there were those things about, the authority, the giving, giving. But I heard one of my colleagues put it beautifully the other day is, a lot of times people will spend a lot of time on that and they're constantly in the friend zone.
Bloggers have that problem.
They're always in the friend zone. So you've got to close the deal at some stage. So I love how you've finished there at the end saying, look, come on, let's move it over and, let's get beyond the friend zone. Let's make this a hot date. Let's get the sale. And so your design needs to make that classily.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, that's kind of, how we approach a website design. But then there's a few mistakes as well that people make that, might be helpful for the listener of
brilliant. You've just been so generous with your advice today. It's just been, I hope everybody's scribbling down really quickly.
No problem at all. Yeah. So what I would suggest is, like, we call these things leakage points, right? Now, most people don't really know what a leakage point is, but so what it is, it's when somebody's on your website and you give them an opportunity to leak off your site to some other site. For instance, what people I see do often in the top of their website, they'll have their Facebook, their Instagram, all those icons that when people click on, they're gone. They're gone to that platform. So why do that? The purpose of social media is to bring people back to your website, right? Not the other way around. So what we like to do is have no links to social media or external websites. And if we do, it might be because we want to give some love to that site. It might be in a blog post or whatever. But we'll make sure it opens in a new tab for one, right? Some people have it open in the same tab, which is just, death.
So it's like shutting the door behind you.
Yeah. And then if you think about videos on a site, people embed YouTube videos that they host on YouTube, right? And unfortunately, though, people can, on their website, they can click on the YouTube logo and once again, they're gone, right? Yeah. Or it gets to the end of the video and they've got all these other websites videos from around the web. People click on them and they're gone. So if you have a paid YouTube account, for instance, you can turn all those features off, so there's no leakage points. Yeah.
Right.
And then another thing, on, say, landing pages, opt-in pages, that sort of thing, you might be sending paid traffic to those pages, right? So we want to prevent all leakage points, but we also need to give people enough information so that, they can make a decision. But for instance, what you don't want to do is have, let's say you've got a logo at the top corner and make sure it's not clickable. So in other words, what the mistake is, people click on the logo, they've sent paid traffic to their site, but their logo is clickable, and then they go to their homepage and they've just lost the traffic from that offer, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Or they keep a top navigation there from their main site. Don't do that, because they're going to go off to these other things. It's not the reason why you've sent them there. You've sent them to a page because you want them to do that one thing. So yeah. And then in the footer, people have privacy terms, etc., and they click them and they go off to those other pages. Instead, when they're clicked, pop up the privacy on that page. You know what I mean? Like in a pop-up, have it all written there.
So that's a good point. Mine doesn't do that. I'm gonna, Go, that's one that's going over to my team.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a good tip, actually.
It is, yeah, because all these little things add up, Like we did a landing page for somebody that sells Tony Robbins training, and we had all these leakage points before we redesigned it. Now they sent high volume traffic to it, so they only had like a 10-15% boost after we fixed all the design and leakage points, but that's a significant amount, Yeah. So
that's a really good one, especially now that we have the the European sort of compliance for opt-ins.
Totally.
You have to have your terms and conditions and your privacy on the opt-in form.
Yes.
And that has to be leaked. They have to be able to go to it. So that is a really good advice, just to make that a pop-up.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, like, if you are sending paid traffic to an offer, we can sometimes create what's called a mini site. So we might have a privacy page separate. We might have a terms page, a contact page, an about page, and it might be top nav to get to those things, for instance. But what we do on those pages is we don't allow people to leak off to the main site. We just have, let's say they're on the main landing page, they have an offer, right? On all those other pages, we put the same offer at the top of each of those other pages and at the bottom. So they've still got only one thing to do.
Right. That's very clever. Very clever. And that's especially so if you've been paying for traffic to get them there. If you've had your Facebook ads working or your Google ads, and you don't want to, you don't want that investment to be able to, to get watered down. That is, good tips. Very good tips.
Yeah, cool.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, I hope that's helpful. Yeah.
Oh, look, it's been brilliant. Now, I know you've got like a 50-step checklist or something for people to do on their website.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So basically, if you go to studioone.design.com/checklist and download this checklist, it's 50 things that you can turn from a no to a yes on, like all these questions. And if it's a no, then change that thing on your site and turn it to a yes. And then if you get all 50 right, you're going to just boost the hell out of your conversions.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that idea. So, and Studio One, is it the number one or... Yep. ONE, Studio, and the number one.
Correct,
studioOneDesigns.com/checklist. We'll put the link to that there on the podcast notes as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will also put together a worksheet that's come from some of the things that Greg has been talking about as well.
Oh,
so
nice. Yeah.
It'll help you to make some decisions, and then you can go over and get that checklist so that you can make sure that you do that. So if you come over to the podcast page, you'll also see that I've got that downloadable for you as well. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So there's so many things that you've talked about that I just want to scribble down that everybody just needs to know.
I love it.
Brilliant. So for people who are listening, I love people to be able to take action this week. So if people are, if they're only going to take one action that they can be doing this week that's going to get them started, apart from, of course, go and get your checklist, of course, that's awesome. What would you recommend that people do first?
Well, it really depends on where they are in their business, but yeah, just look at your website in the eyes of your visitors if you can, which is hard to do when you're a business owner because you're usually so close to it. But yeah, that's probably step one. And then I would say, have a look at your Google Analytics, but put another tool on your site called Hotjar. There's a free version. There's like a $30 version or something. But what Hotjar does, it has heat maps that show people how they behave on your website. It also has video recordings of everybody that comes to your website, right? And so you can learn a lot from that. You can learn how people behave and you marry that up with like your Google Analytics, and you can get some really good insights. And like I have Hotjar and Google Analytics on my side, of course. And once a week, I just spend half an hour watching videos, looking at heat maps, and guarantee I always change one thing as a result of watching that.
Yeah. That is a really, really good point. Really good point.
Yeah, and a website's never finished. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's you can always be tweaking it. Being really careful that you're not kind of what do they call it? Master branding. Like you're just sort of wasting your time sort of on the things that don't matter. Where you're talking about the things that convert, and having something like Hotjar does do that, because I know that we made some big changes. That were just really, really simple. That was affecting an opt-in.
Yeah.
And it was because the pop-up kept on coming up saying, "Hi, we're here if you need some help." Well, we saw the Hotjar. Everybody was going down there to click to turn that off.
Yeah, and, there you go.
Yeah.
Pop-ups should only happen on an exit, in my opinion, or after an amount of time on a site, but only once per visitor per day. Some people have them pop up every time you're on that page.
Yeah.
Oh, so annoying.
Yeah. That is brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, Greg. You've just been incredibly generous with your
awesome knowledge. Yeah. Well, hopefully the listener got some value out of it. But thank you.
And that's one of the big things for everybody that's listening. One of the best things that you can do is, because Greg and I, we do this because we love it.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding to know if you've actually taken action. So the best way you can do that, when you go over and get Greg's opt-in, his checklist, drop him a note through email or stalk him on Facebook and tell him what action you took. Come and tell me. You can leave a comment on the show notes. You can go, if you're on iTunes, I would absolutely love it if you would leave a review and talk about this episode specifically. What did you get from what Greg shared today? That is one of the greatest ways that you can, give thanks to Greg for the amazing, the knowledge he's given you today, because honestly, this is the kind of advice that people will be paying for. So thanks so much for your time, Greg. And thank you, everybody. Go out there and take some action and make it happen, baby.
I love it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.